Today, we're going to talk about something that pretty much all of us do, probably without even thinking about it. Rewarding our kids. You know, saying good job, handing out a treat, it's second nature, right? But what if I told you that that whole system, it could be totally backfiring? Yeah, let's get into it.
I mean, this is the question, isn't it? For any parent, any teacher, really anyone. We use these things because, let's face it, they get pretty quick results. But are we actually building something that lasts? You know, real character, real motivation? Or are we just training them to follow the rules only when there's a prize on the line, and the whole thing just crumbles the minute we turn our backs?
And that right there, that's what you could call the reward and punishment trap. It just feels so intuitive, doesn't it? I mean, pretty much everyone I know uses some version of it. It's been the go-to parenting playbook for, ever.
And hey, let's be real. In the moment, it feels like it works. The room gets cleaned for that extra hour of screen time. The homework gets done for the cookie. You know, the job gets done, problem solved. But what's hiding underneath that simple deal is something a lot more complicated.
So where'd we even get this idea? It's not just some old wives' tale. It actually has serious roots in a whole field of psychology. It's called behaviorism.
So behaviorism got super popular right after World War II. And the whole idea was, look, you can shape how people act without getting into all that messy stuff like feelings or, thoughts. Just focus on what you can see, what happens, and how someone reacts. It was all about training people, almost like you'd train a pet.
The logic is super simple, right? Something happens around you, that's your stimulus. You do something back, that's your response. And if the outcome is good, like you get a treat, well, you're probably going to do it again. If the outcome is bad, like a punishment, you're going to try to avoid it. It's clean, it's simple, and it was a huge deal. But is that really all there is to us?
And that question brings us to this really fascinating experiment that basically threw a wrench in that whole way of thinking. Seriously, it's a classic study that I think every parent needs to hear about. And it all started with some preschoolers who just loved to draw.
Okay, so the setup here was really smart. The researchers didn't pick something the kids hated doing. Nope, they specifically found a bunch of kids who already love drawing. It was their favorite thing. The whole point was to see what happens when you introduce a reward for something they already enjoyed for free.
So here's what they did. They split the kids into 3 groups. Group 1, they were told right away, hey, if you draw some pictures for us, you'll get this really cool Good Player Award. Group 2 just got to draw, business as usual, no mention of any prize. And then there was Group 3. They also just drew, but at the very end, boom, they got a surprise reward they had no idea was coming.
Okay, so fast forward a couple of weeks. The researchers come back, and they just casually put the drawing stuff out during free play time. They wanted to see who would choose to draw, on their own. And the results, wow, they were shocking. You can see it right here on the chart. The kids who were promised a reward, they were way less interested in drawing now. And the other 2 groups, the no reward group and the surprise reward group, they were still drawing just as much as ever.
So think about what that means. The reward didn't just fail to help, it actively killed their passion for drawing. It took something they loved, play, and turned it into work. Suddenly, it wasn't about the joy of creating anymore, it was about getting that silly certificate. And once that prize wasn't on the table, poof, the desire was gone. What that experiment shows so perfectly is this constant tug-of-war happening inside all of us between 2 very different kinds of motivation. Let's break them down.
Yeah, there's actually a name for what happened to those preschoolers. Psychologists call it the over-justification effect. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Basically, the external reward, that little diploma, gave them too much justification for drawing. Their brains kind of did a quick calculation and decided, oh, I get it. I'm not doing this because it's fun. I'm doing this for the prize.
So you've got these 2 forces fighting it out. Intrinsic motivation, that's your internal engine. It's fueled by curiosity, by passion, by pure enjoyment. It's that feeling when you're so into something you completely lose track of time. Then you've got extrinsic motivation. That's external. It's a deal. You do this, you get that. And look, it can work for boring, repetitive tasks, but when we start using it for everything, we run the risk of just drowning out that amazing internal engine. And this is where we get to the real long-term danger. We think we're teaching kids to be responsible, right? But what we might actually be teaching them is to do a little calculation for every good deed. Their first question becomes, okay, but what do I get? Instead of developing their own inner compass that tells them what's right or what's interesting or what's kind, they start doing things for the payout, not because they believe in them.
Okay, so if this whole reward system is a trap, what are we supposed to do? How do we get out? Well, it's not about just throwing up our hands and letting kids run wild.
Not at all. It's about a shift in focus, away from just controlling what they do and toward building who they are. Let's check out some really practical things you can do instead.
So instead of saying, if you finish your homework, you get a cookie, try getting curious. Ask something like, hey, what part of that homework was the most interesting? Or, wow, I saw how hard you were concentrating. How did it feel to get it all done? You see the difference? You're putting the spotlight on the learning itself, on the effort, on that feeling of accomplishment, not on the cookie.
And what about when they misbehave? Instead of the classic, if you do that again, no TV for a week, which is all about fear, try asking a question. What do you think we could do differently next time? Or, hey, let's talk about what just happened. How can we fix this together? This approach builds real skills, like problem solving and thinking about others, that'll stick with them forever. It's way more powerful than just teaching them to be scared of losing TV time.
Remember the drawing experiment? So instead of just saying, that's a nice drawing, here's your star, dive into their process. Ask them, oh, that's so cool. What made you choose those colors? Or tell me about this part right here. I love hearing how you made it. You're shifting from being a judge who just hands out a grade to being, well, an interested fan of their work. And that tells them their ideas and their effort are what really matter. Okay, and this one is huge, but it's a little subtle. We all say things like, good boy, or you're so smart, but that kind of praise can actually backfire. It can make kids anxious, like they always have to live up to that smart label and they become terrified of failing. So, instead, try being super specific about their actions. For example, I saw you helped your brother tie his shoes without even being asked. That was really thoughtful. See? It's not about a label, it's about a specific kind action. It's real, it's meaningful, and it helps them build a sense of self based on what they do.
So, when you boil it all down, it really comes back to this one question for all of us. Are we aiming for short-term convenience, or are we playing the long game, for long-term conviction? Because, let's be honest, the reward trap is easy. It's a quick fix that helps us get through a tough afternoon. But our real job, our biggest job, isn't just to survive today. It's to raise good people. People who, long after we've stopped handing out stars and cookies, will still choose to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. And that's a reward you just can't buy.